Hello and welcome back to the Remembering Tuscola webcast. I'm David Porter. I'm here with our experts, Mike Carroll and Bill Englehart. And anything else I'm supposed to say? I didn't have any introductions.
That was it?
I didn't have any introductions prepared.
Well,
These
you want
are
us to mail you our curriculum vitae?
two men who need no introduction, therefore I have none.
That sounds good.
Yeah. Two old men hanging on by the fingernails. At
So
least Bill is.
We're thankful to be here.
Yeah. All the great men in the world are dead except Bill and I, and he's not looking too good right now.
Huh.
Hey, you have some pictures for us today? What era?
You have any news for us, by the way?
News?
Yeah.
I don't have any news.
You don't have any news. I don't know who does.
Well, it's a carbon closed.
Wow, that was overnight, wasn't it? They got through the New Year's Eve and bang.
That made WCIA, it made the news Gazette, it's made.
I'll tell you what, the restaurant business is tough. I think they say 90% of all restaurants close. It's such hard work, and I'm sure it was tough.
What was the reason for closing, David? Lack of help or?
I have no idea. But I should have got in one last meal.
Well, Beck and I ate there about once a week or every other week. But David, I've heard of more restaurants closing or they limited hours because they can't get help. And all I could think of was we've got 45 quintillion people coming across the border every 3 seconds. Now, can't they give them a work card and make them pay taxes and fill some of these restaurant jobs? What is the problem?
You would think. And Douglas County, I meant to get the story in this week and I didn't have room for it, so I'll run it next week. The unemployment in this area is very low.
Yeah, it's about 3% probably, I imagine. 2.5 or 3.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, it's a paradox. Unemployment's 2 or 3%, but restaurants can't get any help, which indicates it's a tight employment situation. But on the other hand, we have 300,000 people a month coming over the border, and evidently having to feed them and put them. And California is making them eligible for Medicare. Tremendous cost burden to all the cities have. I never understood. I understand they shouldn't be citizens that came in illegally, but isn't there such a thing as a temporary work card that it just allows you to work and get a social security number and pay into the system, and then you still get it revoked, or you get evicted if you didn't qualify for citizenship? I mean, wouldn't there be some?
Well, there are such programs. I don't know the ins and outs.
There's HR program. What's the one where you can come in and teach, honey? What, for every 6 months or a year, you get a work permit, work visa. I'm talking about some brand new thing for the 48 billion that have come over.
Most of those are the ones that come legally, and
right.
But yeah, doing that for the ones that are here illegally is at least a way of documenting them and tracking them.
Well, yeah, give them a number. Let them go work at these places that can't find work. And, the complaint used to be years ago, the big complaint was Tucker Carlson, I know on Fox, used to say that these immigrants are taking the low paying jobs away from Americans who need them. Well, evidently that's not the situation anymore. So they're not a threat to anybody on low paying jobs because there's a dearth of jobs.
Yeah, they're taking the jobs nobody wants.
Taking jobs nobody wants. Yeah, nobody wants to do these kind of things. I don't know. It just seems incongruous that we have this flood of immigrants with this tremendous need for entry-level working at restaurants and different places. Seemed like you could solve it if it was a rational government It seems like there's a way to solve that temporarily.
It's a long walk from Venezuela.
Well,
If we have any viewers left, we'll get to,
we lost him.
well, we'll lose Bill pretty soon if we're not careful.
That's right. We're done with politics.
Oh,
Let's get to some pictures.
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah, Bill and I.
This is what Joe told me.
Yeah. Now this is from a book called. Here's the book: the history of Tuscola Little League. You got it.
No, well, I've got the, hang on. If you want me to show that, I need to stop that and go to this view. There you go. There you go.
Now that allegedly was written by my cousin Rick McGuire and me, Mike Carroll. Rick, just a real quick backstory. Rick was unemployed and kind of bored, and I had an idea. Rick loves statistics. He's one of these guys that's a statistics freak. I came up with the idea to do a football book, which we did, and we both worked equally hard on it. Rick dug up minutia and statistics. I wrote the book. I did storylines. I collected photos, got it printed. Joint venture, a lot of fun. Sold a lot of copies of it. Like most books, once it's out, people point out the inaccuracies, that we left out so-and-so for Little Allstate, whatever. I went over to Springfield, David, down in the basement of the old Capitol to look at the microfiche of 1910, 1911 Tuscola journals. Anyway, this is from the Little League book. Rick basically did this book and put my name on and wanted me to look it over. And he did a good job. This is the 61 All-Star team coached by Irv Eaton on the left and Louis Henninger on the right. Bill, you do the top row. You know these guys.
Standing next to Irv Eaton is Butch Conser. He was in my class. Pat Keene. Is that Johnny Laster?
Johnny Laster.
And there you have John Coffey. I think in the book it's I looked here at the book, it says Howard Coffey. Howard was John's dad.
Could have been John's real name, or it could have been John Howard Coffey.
Yeah, I guess.
Solve that problem for us, John.
Yeah. Gary Graham.
Chigger. Yeah.
And then here's a blast from the past. That's Bruce Beatty. Bruce is the younger brother of John Beatty, who we talk about frequently. Then who do we have there standing by Louis?
That's Kevin Richards, which I don't know.
I've never heard of him.
I've never heard of him either.
Then we go to bottom left. Received a message today from Joe Caldwell. And in the book, I believe it says Joe Caldwell, but that's not Joe.
Bill and I are convinced that's Ronnie.
That's Ronnie.
So Rick missed that one, not me.
Mm-hmm. That is Joe's older brother, Ronnie.
Well, Joe thought it was Ronnie too at first.
Yeah.
Then he wasn't sure.
I'm pretty sure that's Ronnie. Joe would have been an 8th grader when that picture was taken.
Well, Joe was a scorekeeper for a number of years.
He did it for right after Ronnie left.
Well, this looks like a scorekeeper. And he's got his watch. He's got his watch on his right hand.
Yeah, but Ronnie did it
left-handed.
I think Ronnie was left-handed. Maybe he was. I don't know. I know that Ronnie did that for a long time and announced. Their dad, Bob, was instrumental in starting and running Little League during the 50s. And their dad was a great baseball player and softball player. And then Joe took it over after Ronnie left and did it for years. I've got, when I was 12 years old, Joe thinks Ronnie did, but Joe made up little recipe cards and drew a little emblem of the Little League. Remember the Little League badge was yellow and green? Mm-hmm. And he put down your batting average, your home runs, did all your statistics. This was back in the day when they really kept good statistics. So I think that's Ronnie.
That's Ronnie, I believe. Then we have Bernie Connor, who's in my class. And then one of my favorite buds, Dana Bishop. And according to the book,
Randy Eaton's a bat boy.
Randy Eaton, who graduated in 71, is the bat boy. Sitting next to him is his big brother, Greg, who was a school administrator for years in Morris, Illinois. Then we have Billy Irwin.
Rabito.
And then Rabito. That's Doug McCumber.
Doug McCumber.
And then we have Larry Culbertson.
The book says Kenny.
The book says Kenny, but that's Larry, who would have been in class of 67. We're wishing Larry well. He just recovered from some heart surgery out in California. Brother Kenny keeps in touch with me every now and then. And then the next picture we have
Supposed to be Steve Hettinger.
Steve Hettinger. Yeah, could
Now-
you slide that just a hair?
Just a hair. Let's make sure that's Steve. That looks like
That's Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's three possible slide errors, and I'm going to blame them all on Rick. Rick's out in the cemetery. Bill and I, after the program, we'll go out there and get a Coke, and we'll talk to Rick and I'll make corrections. But Rick did a good job of collecting all this data. This was really took a lot of time to put this stuff here. Rick liked that stuff though. Rick was
He was a number guy.
he was a detail guy, number guy. That's a great photo though. Once again, look at the quality of that. Look at the quality of that photo.
It is a wonderful picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we can tell you a story about everyone there. Keno, for example, I just talked on the phone with him a couple months ago down at Robinson. His boys are running his business, I think. He works part-time. Pat's still a great golfer. Gary was in Robinson, last I heard. Is he still in Robinson?
As far as I know, and John Coffey is a retired school administrator.
Johnny Laster passed away, just a real sweet kid, went down to the Crab Orchard area with his dad was down there, ran a camp. What do you run
They had a marina.
marina,
Yeah. Good. That's a good group of kids.
all good kids. A lot of USI kids, most of them are USI kids.
Yeah.
Laster's dad came up, Keno's dad came up. I don't know about Graham. Did Graham's parents come up?
No, his
Was he
dad
over here?
was with the CIPS, wasn't he? I believe.
And then Herb used to run the milk company here in Tuscola.
Yeah.
Down across from Century Motors.
Good kids.
Good kids, good photo. Okay. Oh, that looks like Dick Helm in the middle. I could be wrong.
On the right, in the dark outfit, that's Margaret Wilhelm.
On the left looks like
Margaret Meyer.
Margaret Meyer, Margaret
Yeah.
Utterback. And that's Dick Helm. We've talked about Dick, class of 51, Hall of Fame, Tuscola, Wheaton, Ohio Assistant Coaches Association, National Basketball Hall of Fame.
This was a class picture.
Well,
Class reunion. Did
well,
you see that football up there?
I think it's 51. Dick was 51. Margaret married Wayne. Meyer was class of 49, most valuable player, class of 49. So,
Margaret Wilhelm was married to Dwayne Wilhelm.
and Margaret Utterback was the famous Utterback family in Tuscola. Our older brother Bob, Wayne, can't think of all their names.
See, they have name tags on, so I think this
Yeah.
is class reunion.
Dick Helm, probably one of the most famous and wonderful guys, Tuscola guys you ever want to meet in your life.
Yeah,
All
you
of them
got the class pictures here behind, and
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, it was a
not
good.
sure, kind of looks like Kaskaskia Country Club. I'm not
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
49, 50, 51 were great years. Dietrich was in there. Denny Dietrich was in there. Class of, was he 50?
I think he was 50.
A lot of great citizens came out of that. A lot of great students.
a lot of pictures to get to here.
Okay, that is
Now there's Wayne Meyer in the back row.
now Wayne Marsh class of 49.
Wayne's right in the middle.
Yeah. And I'm trying to see who's all in that 49 class. That looks like
I can't tell if that's Jay Bowles on the left or not. I can't tell.
well, there should be. 49, of course, was Corky Waters, but I don't know if Corky was I don't know how old this is. Corky died when he was 30 something. I don't see him there. We should know some of these guys from 49. Jay Bowles was on that 49 team, wasn't he?
Yeah, I'm just looking.
Is that Jay right here?
Well, kind of in a way, but I don't know. Can't tell. I just can't tell. Next picture.
You got any names for us? You can tell us about it.
Just
Oh,
Wayne.
George Meister.
Upper left, George Meister. This must have been an all classroom. There's Gene Albritton. Second from the
Yeah.
right on the bottom is Gene Albritton.
Right.
George Meister. Now we're back in the 40s.
Now. No, I'm not even going to say it.
No, go ahead.
No, I'm not going to say it. It looks like Grace Moore Patrick to me, but she didn't teach these kids.
No.
She taught in the 30s. George, yeah, there's George Meister. Wasn't on his bicycle.
Nope.
We see George's Rock on Thursday afternoons.
That Rover Wetzel back there.
In the back, looks like a Wetzel. This is
There's Lane.
This is
Second from right on the
David's mother.
That's Doris. Was that her name? Lane.
Dolores Lane, Rudy Huber says
Yeah.
in stripes.
Yes.
There you go.
She had David and Don.
Don
Donnie
Lane.
Lane.
Sue Gavin says middle back row, Harold Wetzel.
Harold Wetzel. Yeah.
Teresa Snyder Rogers says Marguerite Reed, second from left. And Debbie Carter says her Aunt Frida far right, her mom's sister.
On the back left looks.
Yeah, I know he does. Looks like an all-class reunion maybe because they've got different. I think they're going from 46 or 7 all the way up to
We
51.
may have had a joint
Yeah.
reunion. We did that once, had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Where do you know where they are based on this background here?
Looks like a bomb shelter.
Looks like the base memorial.
Yeah, that's a strange roof angle there, or
Yeah.
whatever that is.
Yeah.
Well, that's
Back left,
yeah, we know him.
that's Army Armstrong.
Army Armstrong, the pilot.
In the front, this has something to do with airplanes because in the front middle, that's Willis Wynn.
Yeah.
But who are these other guys?
That's the airport guys.
Yeah. You don't have any names on that?
It's only the ones you had.
Two young ladies who never crossed our paths. They may have, but we don't remember.
You wouldn't know, would you?
No, I wouldn't.
If all
Who are they?
Well,
Well,
the
that's-
one on the right apparently is Marsha Wilson. According to Rudy Huber and Martha Rhodes, but I don't have the other name.
Marsha Wilson.
I recognize some of these.
Yeah, I got a couple of them.
Upper left is Steve
What's
Wetzel.
He hasn't
There's a,
changed, has he?
No.
no?
Fourth one in the left is Owen, maybe Randy. The next one is Gary Henby. That has Tuscola on his shirt. The fifth one is Gary Henby. Doug Dietrich,
That's Rick Smith, isn't it?
Rick-
Next,
looks like
Dietrich.
Rick Smith, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And that's bottom row. Bottom row all the way. Bottom row, third one in is Jerry Hall, and all the way to the right is Fred Gailey, I think.
You know what? Those helmets, you can almost see inside those helmets. They didn't have any padding hardly
Well,
whatsoever.
heck, when I played in '61, we just put a leather glove over our head. taped it.
Yeah.
And it didn't cause any mental damage.
No, none whatsoever.
So how many did we get there, Steve? We should know that second one. Third one might be a Meyer.
I've got names on this one.
Scaredo?
I'm going to say first one's Wetzel, maybe
Esquerdo.
Esquerdo, Meyer, that's Owen,
Yeah.
Gary Henby,
Henby.
Rick Smith,
Doug Dietrich.
Doug Dietrich. Bottom row, third one's Jerry Hall, I'm positive.
I'm just not recognizing them though.
Jerry Hall, and all the way down the right, front row is Fred
Gailey.
And they're freshmen. They're like freshmen in this picture.
You're
sophomores.
probably right.
Give us the names.
Okay, Marcy Shoemaker says back row, left to right. Steve Wetzel, Rick Esquerdo, Rob Meyer, Steve Owen, Gary Henby, Rick Smith, Doug Dietrich.
We got everyone in the group.
Oh, well, no problem.
Front row, Rich Page, Alan Page, Jerry Hall, Tom Ellis, Daryl Cummings, and Fred Gailey.
Well, we got everybody on the back row and 2 on the front.
Yeah, you did pretty well.
Yeah.
Not too bad. These boys were a lot younger than we are.
It's
Well, that's 73.
I don't know what year, but
They graduated in 72 or 3.
72 or 3, because Rick Gailey wound up graduating in 74, I think, or so it could be 72 or
these are all quite a bit older than me, but I recognize, of course, Steve Wetzel hasn't changed a bit. And,
no.
And Dietrich, you can tell that's a Dietrich.
Yep.
I would not have guessed that would be Jerry Hall, though. Jerry has changed a little since then.
Yeah, good football player. He and Fred were close in the backfield. I think one was a fullback, one was a halfback. I think Jerry was the halfback. Fred was most valuable player.
Oh, that's Steve Sanderson on the left.
Rudy Huber. And is that a Kalmar?
Looks like John Kalmar.
John Kalmar.
You got him. That's what the internet has.
Rudy needed a haircut.
Those Kalmars look like they're Greek gods, don't they?
Kevin Connor on the far right.
Oh, next, Kevin Connor on the far right. Is that a
geez.
Graham?
No, I don't think. I'll tell you what, I'm lost on this one.
These are the linemen.
But that's Kevin Connor.
Yeah.
Well, according to Kevin Connor, it's Roger Galloway, Dan Blossy, Mike Fortney, and himself.
Oh, Mike Fortney. I'll be darned.
Mikey.
Yeah. That's good. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Joe, Dorothy Fortney's son, our neighbors.
Yeah, across the street.
Yeah.
I recognize a few of these.
Oh, boy. Go ahead, Bill.
Well, I don't know the guy on the left, but I do know the plaid shorts look real good on Lynn Strack. Then we've got Jim Hunt, Denny Fredericks, and of course, I saw him walking yesterday, Bruce Knopfs. Bruce hasn't changed much.
Minnesota boy. I played baseball with Bruce back in 1960. Yeah, Fredericks. Oakland boy, played with Mark Petty. He was, we played basketball and football. He's a 65 graduate of Oakland. He was back home a week or two ago. His wife's mother down in Arcola, 100 years old, died.
Did you see him?
No, Mark talked to him.
Did he?
They built, they sold some farmland here a while back. And they built a brand new house out in Fancy Gap, Virginia or someplace, right up on the Shenandoah Trail. Then it's good boy.
He's a good athlete.
Good athlete, good at everything. Who's the first guy? Did anybody know the first guy?
Tom Brady says it's Richard Lish.
Who? Richard Lish?
Richard
Lee. I have no idea who that is.
Lish. He first thought it was Coach Cup, but then he said it's Richard. Is it Lish or Leash? Lish, not Coach Cup.
He wasn't here very long.
Could have been a student.
Teacher.
Well, I had an Austin school, and of course, Frederick was my freshman football coach. So these guys were still around when I was in school, some of them.
And he was hardcore.
Yeah, he was.
That is the old-fashioned kind of coach. There's Wild Bill
Burris.
Is that Phil Waters next to him?
Kind of looks like him.
This isn't a super clear picture. There's
Well, some of these negatives were not in great shape.
There's Burke, middle.
And the plain T-shirt is Kenny Burke.
And then Greg Hastings.
Yeah, and the other shirt.
right next to him.
God, Burris hated cross country. He hated everything but basketball. He'd get assigned that. He didn't like
Well, he did it because he said, Bill, we're going to have to cut your pay or you got to do cross country. What, can you slide that over a little bit? I don't know if that's Phil Waters or not the first time. Well, they all got the same haircut. It must have been this. It must have been the Beatle haircut back then. But I think that's Greg Hastings and Kenny Burke.
I think you're right, but I just can't tell the other boys.
Oh, this down here looks familiar. That's
I don't even want to guesstimate.
you got names here?
Well, I've got a few. Of course, they're hard to recognize anyway with this quality of the picture.
Yeah.
That's John Chaplin.
Okay, Scott Brewer says, back row, Coach Burris, Phil Waters, question mark, possibly Jim and John Stonecipher,
No.
Tom Gossett, Kenny Burke, Greg Hastings, Mike Runyon, possibly Kevin Lynch, possibly Jerry Fry. Front row, Jim Lee,
No.
Yeah,
I got that one. Yeah. Okay.
got to be Bill Weber, but looks like Gary French, Bruce Rogers, Scott Brewer, Greg Skuda, and Neil Sutta.
Yeah, Greg Scoot is one I thought we should recognize.
Hall of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
Danny Matthews
we-
says it's Scott Flesher next to Phil.
Well, I'll be darned. It does look a little bit like Scott in the face.
You know, it does, doesn't it?
And he said, Jim French says, not either of the Stonecyphers. Next to Phil is Scott Flesher, I think.
Yeah, that's not.
I would bet my car that the Stonecyphers never ran cross country in their life.
No, no.
They're golfers, pool shooters, basketball players.
Yeah,
Long distance running is
out of the question.
not in their bailiwick.
No.
So which one would that be for Scott?
Scott's a third one from Bill Burris, Phil Waters, and then Scott.
Which row?
Back row.
Back row?
Burris, Waters, Scott. Not sure. Tom Gossett, Burke, Greg, Hastings. Right there. Looks like, I think it looks like him in the face.
Okay.
I would not have recognized Scott or Greg, and I know both of those guys really well.
Well, Greg's got that haircut. That's the era. That looks like Greg to me.
It does to me too.
Of course, I wouldn't have known him at this time.
Nope.
You would have been in what, first grade?
Yeah, I was a little bit younger.
Wow. Now there's Jim Hunt, same era football players.
It's hard to tell.
Wow. Can you blow it up just a little bit bigger? Wow.
Some of these negatives were
That looks like stuff. Go back left.
they're curved. I try to flatten them out as much as I can, but some of them get to be a little out of focus that way. Let me see if I got any names.
Hey,
Tammy
names.
Arnold says class of 75.
No wonder. This is a decade after we were out of school.
Well, that should be though. That's 75 should be Dietrich. Gordy Cross should be in this picture. Randy Hastings.
Yeah, they came with this might be a freshman group, right?
Well, it could be the freshman group that graduate later. But
Well, I know because Hunt Yeah, they graduated later.
So if this is 77,
Hunt's freshman coach.
77 or 78.
Yeah.
Susie Ford, and she doesn't say which is which, but she says that's my cousin Doug Weaver next to Tom Hilgendorf and Bill Morris.
Lawyer.
Billy Morris. He was that's Billy Morris in the back with glasses, I bet. He was a big kid. That's it, buddy.
That's it.
All right.
Well, the second one in the back row on the left that's Dan Oakes.
First one is Mick. That's either Steve or two Mick boys. I think that's Steve. The third, let me see. This would be. We should know these guys.
Marcy has names.
These two guys down here we should know.
Yeah, we should know this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Marcy says back row, Steve Mick, Daniel Oakes, Neil Oakley, Randy Todd.
Neil,
that's Randy? Huh.
Front row, Kim Smith, Steve Riley, Weaver, Dennis Riley. And Toppy says Mike Weaver next to Steve Riley.
Steve Mick, I think, I don't want to get mixed up with his brother, punted and was really one of the best punters in the area. Went down and punted for Southern Illinois University, I think. I used to play basketball with his dad. Remember Ted, his dad?
His dad was a good ball player.
That was who I'd go play one-on-one basketball with Ted when I was in the high school. He was probably 10 years older. He was one tough guy.
Marcy has names on these too.
Well,
there's Spike Cooper in the back, isn't it?
Yeah, that looks like Spike.
This looks like Craig Romine.
Romine on the left, it looks like.
Craig Romine, maybe. This is Doug Grimm.
Doug Grimm, lower left. Go ahead and give us the names.
Marcy says back row, Craig Romine, Paris Cooper, Kurt Lucas, Brent Oakes. Front row, Doug Grimm, Steve Murphy, and Bruce Dunlevy.
I'll be darned. Steve Murphy was my cousin's son, Loretta Hilligoss. That's Tim Hilligoss's nephew, funeral home director. And that we had Spike and Romine. And that's Kurt Lucas. Okay.
That's Andy Kleiss.
Andy Kleiss, the fifth one from the left.
That's Mike Meyer with the bandage on his leg. I bet. See, if you look at the face.
Yeah.
Marcy says Matt Rotman, Mike Meyer, Pat Horn, Andy Townsend, Andy Kleiss, and Joe Jacobs.
Pat Horn became a really well-renowned oncologist. And his mother, Doris, I taught in Arcola for many years. I rode to work with her. His brother's name was Mike, who was an iron worker out west after he got out of high school. But Pat Horn was well known for his work in cancer research and whatnot.
That was a good photo.
Just trying to read some of the comments.
Oh boy.
There's another fuzzy photo.
Yeah, that's a toughie.
Looks right. Is that Coach Frederick on the far right?
Slide over. Yeah, that's Denny. The Oakland Flash.
These guys are freshmen.
Yeah. We're just gonna get a headache trying to.
Yeah, that's tough.
There we go. There's a good.
Oh, baseball.
Yeah, let's see.
Coach on the left.
Tommy Rich on the right.
Yeah,
That's my catcher.
that's Tommy Rich.
At this GI League ball, that was Tom Terrific. Who's on the left? Gene Cornell.
Gene Cornell.
Gene Cornell.
But
So
got their hats pulled down, or some of them.
Tommy's boys with his hat on.
Okay, Steve Laley has names.
Good.
Are you ready for them?
Yeah.
He says back row, Coach Cornell, Dave Dietrich, Pete Rotman, question mark. Then Jim Grimm, Virgil Watts, Don Williams, Steve Connor, Brian Wood, Coach Rich. Front row, Rusty Harsh, Terry Mulligan, Mark Cornell, Gary Campbell, Mike Connor, Eric Foster, and Steve Laley.
Wow. A young Gary Campbell. What a good guy. What a great athlete. Wow. Tommy Rich, like this GI League ball, Tommy was my catcher, and he would not wear shin guards. He thought took too much time to put them on. Whenever I bounced one off the plate into his shins, he just gave me a dirty look.
Steve Laley was really a good pitcher.
Yes,
too.
he was.
And the Brian Wood in the back, that's Beth Pugh's brother. And the Williams, Don Williams, that's Jack's boy.
Some of these guys are not that much older than me.
Now,
Tommy was like class of 50 or 51, played football with Dick Helm and I think Corky Waters and Buck Meyer in that group. His dad was a meat cutter, tough guy.
Yeah, some of these would be close to my brother Pete's age. Dietrich was in his class. And some of them are a little younger than that, I think.
That may be a traveling team or an all-star team. Oh, that's Minnie Pearl when she came to Tuscola in 49. Actually, that's Judge Harry Pate's wife.
that's Marguerite Pate.
Judge Harry Pate's wife. I just said Minnie Pearl because of her hat.
Mm-hmm.
She may have been doing a Minnie Pearl thing.
Imitation.
Yeah.
Could be.
Okay, there we go. There's Bill Alexander on the left. That's our superintendent's granddad.
Dr. Burns.
Dr. Burns, a chiropractor. Dr.
Steiner.
Not sure. Roy Toomey, the mayor. That whip hole.
I think so. And
Ray McCumber.
Is it Ray or Don?
Don McCumber. I can't see the last one.
What's he doing with that golf bag?
Well, you got to look at the thing. Slide over a little bit, Dave. Oh, and that's
O.B. Smith.
O.B. Smith. Well, to get Roy to retire, they offered him a golf bag. What's hanging from the moose antlers back there? What is that back there? Halloween thing? Zeroing on the moose antlers.
Hey, we missed one guy in the back. Who's that in the flared shirt?
Well, look at that. What in the world?
I have no idea what that is.
Well, that's rare. I'd like to have it in my antique store. We don't know the guy, fourth one in between Doc Steiner and Roy Toomey.
We did pretty well on that one. That most people.
The guy in the
didn't get
flowered
that.
shirt. No, these are late 50 guys, around 1960. Bill ran the Alexander's Cleaners across the new fire station.
Dr. Burns was a chiropractor.
He'd rub your bones and muscles.
Dr. Steiner would tell you you're going to die.
That's right. He told Bill he wasn't going to make it to 29. You're going to die early.
So Gary Brewer says Lou Connoisseur.
Oh, Luke, he was the Butch Conser's dad.
Connoisseur.
Yeah, Conser.
Heating and plumbing.
Thank you, Gary.
Heating and plumbing. Used to be, who was it? Rothgab and Connoisseur were together, and then they split up.
Todd
And Connoisseur.
Mhm. I believe. It's where the vacuum shop is.
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
close.
Yeah. Looks like Floyd Grubb stand up on the left
Raymond Lee sitting down on the left.
with Betty.
That's Betty Carlson.
Standing up is Floyd Grubb, Buick Pontiac. There's another car dealer. Is that
Keith Tingley.
third one's Keith Tingley. The second one though is Hooker Powell. Isn't it?
Tom Powell?
Tom
I
Powell, I think.
don't think so.
You don't think it is? I think it's a car dealer.
These-
These are ABC
Yeah.
guys. Floyd was down at the corner grocery. It used to be corner grocery, and now it's Atkinson's roofing company. Sold Buicks and Pontiac. I remember the Buicks. Tommy Grubb just sent me an email recently and reminded me he also sold Pontiacs.
Mhm.
I think that's Powell. Tom Powell. Keith Thingley we've talked about. He was national president of ABC there for a while. Don't know who the fourth guy is.
Can't tell.
Yeah, I think all the names I had were you guys had.
Hmm.
No, don't have anything there.
I got a lot of comments on this picture. Danny Matthews says Betty Garrett. Toppy says maybe her mother. Johnny Doherty says Thelma Hatchell, Betty's mother. Lisa Weber says this is Thelma Hatchett Garrett.
There was a Mrs. Garrett that lived behind Dwinzing's station. There was a little house.
Yeah, they tore down when they
tore it down when they
did the
Right.
EPA.
Yeah.
EPA dig.
I got a couple pictures of her on here, but this one I don't have any comments on, but the says something drawing evening show. This may have had something to do with WDZ. I had a couple of WDZ pictures.
Well, one thing the photographer was not aware of is a thing called shadows.
Yeah. Yeah, there's
looks like a 1940 murder mystery movie.
Well, one of the reasons I decided to put this one in, I'm not too, I don't make too many judgment calls, but this one probably was never in the paper because of this light streak across the guy's face and all the shadows. So
Yeah.
This picture's probably never been seen before.
He was a ghost.
He's got a streak down around the belt line too. I don't know what that was.
Well, it's light emanate. It was probably at the end of the roll. It had a little light leak on the canister.
Well, this is when the Mexican delegation came to Tuscola. There's Raymond Lee and Keith Tingley, and there's all the way to the left, I think, is Waldo Ball.
I think you're right. That is Waldo.
I can't see. Next, third one is Keith Tingley, Raymond Lee Jr.
Almost looks like Bill Alexander.
Looks like Bill Alexander, the fifth one. Bill liked that dark black. He wore a black shirt an awful lot with a sports coat. Not sure who the last one is.
Well, you're doing an amazing job because they're so hard to see in this picture. This negative was really underexposed, a really thin negative.
Yeah.
I was surprised I got anything out of it at all.
It's kind of like our introduction, underexposed.
This is the ABC group.
Yeah.
Quite an active organization back in the 1960. 1960.
One of the nice things about the modern technology is even though some of them, it's not as good a quality as a print, but when you get a negative like this, I've got better editing software now.
You can improve it, huh?
Right, I can improve it better than what you could 50 years ago.
Well, you can pick some of these guys up. It's not clear, but I can pick out who they are. Bill can pick out who they are. We don't know who the last guy on the right is.
Yeah, I don't have any names on that.
There's Mrs. Page again.
Page again.
She's got a different hat on. Are you sure she wasn't doing a mini pearl thing? That's a different hat.
She's got these hat boxes.
You think she's just trying to pick up some extra bucks?
I don't know.
She's got an old jug of wine there. You think that is a mini pearl thing?
I think that's that looks like a thing you put your hat on to keep it in shape.
Oh, a hat blocker? Oh, she's giving a talk on how to block your hats. They don't do that anymore, do they, David?
Well, people don't wear hats like that.
Can't you block your hats anymore? There we go. Now that's the same picture, except now we picked up Floyd Grubb on the left. Floyd Grubb, Waldo Ball, Raymond Lee, Keith Tingley. No, excuse me. Waldo Ball, not sure. Keith Tingley. That is Raymond Lee right there, isn't it? One of those, yeah. Bill Alexander. Don't know. The guy with the pipe here in the foreground.
Don't know him.
I was going to say Larry Milliken, but I just
Wow.
pulled that out of my ear.
Boy, you.
Well, when I see a pipe, like, makes me think of
The old
Carl
pipe.
Quinn.
That's not Carl. That's
No, that's not. Carl had a pipe all the time.
But Carl smoked a pipe.
his
Yeah.
dad smoked cigars. That looks like Betty Garrett.
Yeah.
Okay, now we go. Oh, there's some mayor.
The mayor, Fred Jones.
And there's the city attorney. Wonderful. We've talked about him. Wonderful, wonderful.
Arnhem Bear.
Arnhem Bear, Doc Steiner, Rick Marsh, Sherm Marsh. No, it may not be. Maybe Dave Gossett. I don't know who that one is. Then is that Sherm?
Oh, I don't think so.
Okay, then Ray Carlson
O.B. Smith,
and
Conser, Louis Conser.
slide a little bit to the right. Slide a little bit to the right. See if we get the last guy. We can't see the guy on the right. That's Orson Moorhead, the police officer. And sitting down the table is the owner of the Strand Theater.
That's George Barber.
George Barber, the mayor.
Doc Burns.
Doc Burns was the new mayor.
Tom McCumber.
Tom McCumber, and there's Bill.
Bill Alexander.
Bill Alexander. Little bitty mustache.
It's funny, that
I don't think,
remember those guys.
I think Fred Jones was still the mayor then, but I think these guys sitting down were council members. I don't know who the guys in the back are. City attorney, I know.
Fred Jones was as close to W.C. Fields as you could get.
Yes, he was. Drove a little bitty Metropolitan car.
Yep.
It looked like a clown car going down the road. Now, is that
Not Sherman.
Sure, Marsh on the right?
It's Carl Hackett on the left with his arms folded.
Yes, it is.
And gosh darn, what's it, Stevens?
Reed says Wayne Stephen.
Yeah.
Stevens.
Carl Hackett, Wayne Stevens, and Sherman Marsh.
And in the back right looks like Linda Summerlot. I'm just looking at the blonde hair.
I'm just looking.
Oh, no, probably not. Somebody older than Linda.
Well, I have to look at her feet,
Oh, yeah, that's Kitty Quiche.
It's a compliment.
That's Kitty's sister. Stole her feet, sold her shoes. Okay, here's a classic.
Okay. And the ladies, left to right on the ladies here. That's the second one in is Emily Marsh.
Who's first?
The first, I don't know who the first one is. That's
Neil. Neil.
Shirley Neal.
Shirley Neal, Tamara and Gary's mother.
Uh-huh.
Well, the first woman is Leona Stephen.
Okay.
Boy, that's an older picture then, because obviously.
Now that's on the left, the old guy, that's Bill checking him out.
Is that it?
Yeah. Bill's evaluating him.
The gal talking to Shirley Neal almost looks like Hattie Wiesner. It's from the side. But that'd be Boyd's wife. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, this is back there.
Yeah. Can you slide that? There might be another character.
Slide a little bit, David, if you could. Left or right? Or left?
No,
yeah, that's Casper.
That's good work.
Casper the Friendly Ghost.
That's it.
Last one. That was a good photo. That caught them all off guard. You got names?
Well, I'm reading the comments. Ann Stephen Leisner says that's her mom, Leona Stephen, middle left, and Emily Marsh. Gary Brewer says Shirley Neal Davis, second from right. Maureen Deaver Purcell says, who's on the far right? Gary Neal says, his mom says maybe Hattie Wiesner.
Huh. Good guess.
That's who Bill thought. I still think that's Bill on the left. Hawken.
Well, I was
always had the eye for the women.
always, that's
Never lost it.
that was me.
Never lost it. Oh,
Well, let's see.
it's a toughie.
I don't have any names on this one, but that's Tuscola High School.
That's Tuscola High School right by the
There's a ceramic.
cafeteria.
Yeah, it's in what is now the old cafeteria.
That ceramic blocks.
The old
That
cafeteria.
ceramic block's probably gone now. That stuff lasts for 155,000 years.
I don't know who these girls are,
Yeah,
or
no.
ladies.
Well, there we go. That's the 1965 basketball team.
Yeah,
There's old Tech Green.
Zach Green.
Second right on the front row.
Back left, second one in.
Deadeye is Deadeye.
Deadeye. Kenny Huber.
Back row left to right is the wonderful Kenny Huber, great basketball player. They call him either One Eye or Deadeye, I forget.
This and Johnny Morris.
Johnny Morris, this is class of 1927. Johnny
Yeah.
Morris was the captain. Front row, Tack Green, the fourth one in, the funeral home, was All-State News Gazette and Chicago All-State. One of our
Boy.
greatest football players of all time.
Man, he was a big man, you know.
Boy, he wasn't that big in high school. Oh, Kenny, look back there. Kenny's one of our favorite characters of all time in Tuscola.
Yeah. That's taken at Tuscola High School.
Doesn't get much better in this group of guys right here. Johnny Morris was a great athlete. Phil played football in the 1960 Oklahoma championship team with Mercer and Court and those guys.
You know, next to Johnny Morris is that Monk Hackett.
You know, Monk played ball back then.
Yeah.
Montel Hackett could be. I've got the 27 yearbook, but it wouldn't help me looking at these guys now. They were undefeated. I think they allowed 7 points against them. One of the great football teams of all time. They were honored, evidently, when they're still alive. This is
That's a Tuscola swimming pool.
yeah.
The trees haven't grown up yet.
The kids are pretty young. Who's sitting in the back there? Blow that up. You got an older woman in the back.
The kiddie pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have any names on any of these. I thought someone might recognize some of these kids.
Go back to that car back there in the back, because you were in that car.
That's a
See what year it is.
station wagon.
See what year that is. 59-ish.
Can't really tell.
But the house back here looks so close. And it's wouldn't be that close. I'm not sure you could see that house from here today because of the trees. And well, the kiddie park is there. That wooden.
You're right.
So the park looks a lot different than it does today.
Well, there are homes out there in Parkview. Looks like Stuart Carney's house and the one next to it. So this has got to be early 60s.
Yeah, probably 60. Most of the pictures
Mid 60.
most of the pictures were marked 1961 or 71.
Yeah, this is early 60s. There were some. I remember Baptist Church. My Bible instructor was Stu Carmack, who worked out at U.S. Stuart Carney. He built one of the first houses out there at Parkview.
That's about a 57 Oldsmobile, looks like.
Yeah,
This picture is older than I am.
that's 61. Bill and I were. I was probably a freshman then.
Out of towners.
This is Hugo.
Class reunion.
Yeah,
Well, this is Tuscola High School.
I know, but
it's a reunion. Can you zero in? Yeah,
Yeah, I have no idea. I don't have any names on this one, so.
yeah. That's the old-fashioned day threshing machine. That was probably Russ Helms. Russ Helm used to always have a big thresher out there. I don't know if that's his or not. They used to be out north end of the park. Set up all those. They'd thresh wheat out there. They'd get the belts going out there and charge them up and show you how they used to thresh wheat.
Yeah, Lisa Weber White says it's Russ Helm's old advanced Rumley.
Yeah, looked like Russ had more than one. He had Bill and I used to work, we used to have to beat the wheat against the rocks out along the riverbank. That's how we used to thresh it.
Yeah.
Sherry Meyer Page says she thinks it's her grandparents on the left, Everett W. Meyer.
Everett wound up living in, yeah, this is Everett Meyer lived over in Atwood. And that's Ruth Ann. Who did you say said that?
Sherry Meyer Page.
Well, I think Ruth Ann McDaniel's parents, wasn't Everett her dad? Ruth Ann.
And when we were beating the wheat against the rocks, we found that baby in the bulrush.
Well, that's a story for another day. Bill wasn't Everett Meyer. There's Bob Caldwell. There's
Bob Caldwell. But
Joe's
that's not.
No, that's not Ruby. Bob was. He was. If that's the high school, Bob was a long-term treasurer for Tuscola High School. Very, very treasured man.
He would stop in my office. We'd talk baseball.
They dedicate some trees to Bob out at the old New North Ward. Very public-minded, spirited guy. Tremendous at math, and if Bob figured it out, it was right.
What a great signature at 90 something.
Yeah.
R.B. Caldwell.
All the Caldwells lived to be old.
Well, Joe says that with his dad is his aunt, Ruth Caldwell.
Clyde's wife.
Okay, Clyde to Glide. Clyde lived up to be
Old.
90, 97, 98. And Bob would have lived longer. I think he was in the hospital for something. He caught something. I think he would have lived even longer. I think it was an infection that got him. Well, that looks like Dolores Lane on the left. I don't know if it is or not. That'd be Dolores.
It does look like. But I can't tell. Really, I can't tell.
I can't either. Looks like reunion time. Either that or it's a Nobel Prize committee given. That guy's got a tux on. Did you ever go to a class reunion with a tux on, Bill?
No. Didn't do that.
Got any names on this?
Nothing.
Well, I got a lot of comments. Mike Jennifer Thomas says it's Auntie D. And
Auntie D, is that Dolores?
Yeah.
see, I don't know. So that's I'm trying to get people to use their
That'd be
names
Francis's
where they are,
sister.
but
Yeah, that was Frances Henninger's sister.
She would have been a Teeters.
And yeah. Big family of Teeters
Big
there.
family.
yeah. So a lot of comments, but not really helpful in the names.
This is still that reunion stuff.
Yeah, I don't have any names on that.
There we go. This is the Douglas County Sheriff's Office. And back row, second one in is Gene Miller. Jack Wellens.
Well, Jack
He's city
Wellens.
Tuscola Police Chief.
Yeah. Now, bottom left,
Oh boy,
that's Ronnie Harbaugh.
Ronnie Harbaugh, one of our favorites.
Yeah.
Is that Sumption? Who's that next?
Bob Sumption. I don't
Yeah,
know.
Bob Sumption.
May not be. You know what? That guy looks, it looks like Uncle Ray Davis from
Yeah,
Newman, who was the
He's a-
city cop.
he's a Newman guy.
Then that's George Barber.
George
isn't it?
Barber owned the Strand and the theater over there.
Oh, God, that's Ed Von Lake.
Is that it?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah. Pretty sure.
I
Hmm.
meant to get it out. I've got one of these police patches.
Yeah. Upper left, we should know him too. That Lyndall Embry, upper left.
Well, you've got more
that's
names than
Embry
what
on
I
the
had.
right. That's Lyndall Embry down on the right.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, there's a couple of sheriffs there. Ronnie Harbaugh was one, and so was Gene Miller.
Gene Miller.
There's Jack. There is Mr. Whalen, the principal, isn't it? Welcome him at the high school.
That's his wife.
Yeah, this class of 36, that's Mabel Hole.
Now, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think this is a class of 36. And that's Mabel Hole, who was in that class,
Okay.
standing up.
She was my second grade teacher.
Yeah.
So
Born about 1919. This is Charlie Whalen.
welcoming committee or what?
Yeah, I think he was a Class E principal. That's his wife. Looked just like his wife, really pretty gal. Their buddy's sister, little daughter, looked just like her.
And
Ann Whalen looked just like her mom. I don't know who's sitting down. That was not. That was nice.
opened up the school.
That was
for
nice.
class.
That was nice of Charlie to be out there to greeting everybody.
He was a greeter.
Class act. Well, that looks like the duck scattering Fork Creek. That's a wheelbarrow.
It's Doug. It Doug.
Yeah, I said duck. I did a soft G, like I duck a hole. Who is that? No.
Okay. Jan Smith says that is her grandpa Grover L. Dick.
Grover Dick. I'll be the
Old Grover. Yeah, that's
Yep.
Wes's dad.
That's
She
Dick.
thinks that was a dredge used to dig or enhance the creek.
I'll be darned. Yeah.
You used to have to operate one of those things.
Yeah, by Ann.
That's hard.
Grover Dick, I didn't recognize him there because usually he had on his hat.
Yeah.
Plus that he had his briefcase handcuffed to his wrist.
Yeah. You thought he was carrying national nuclear codes.
Well, he's got his hat there in his hand. And
Yeah.
Tell me about the briefcase and the handcuffs. What?
He would eat lunch at there at
Poplar?
Mel's.
Oh, Mel's, yeah.
Mel's Drive-In, and he would eat lunch. This is rather old picture.
Where Higgins's lumberyard is.
Yeah, and but he honestly would come in with that briefcase handcuffed to him to sit down at a booth or whatever.
We think he had something to do with the CIA.
we have no idea what he was doing.
Either that, or he played a joke a long time ago and he never could find the key.
I'd give anything to have Ronnie Dick here to
Tell us about that.
tell us about that. Yeah.
Well, you had to, to get attention in Tuscola in the old days, you had to have a gimmick.
Frank Bellis
Frank Bellis.
used to come into Mel's. He's the one that set the paper on fire.
A guy was reading a newspaper one day and Frank lit the bottom of the paper and all of a sudden both halves were on fire and the guy screaming and yelling, waving both of them. Is that Frank the guy that drove through the glass plate window?
Yes.
Rammed into the seats.
Just got out of his car.
Got out of the car, walked through the broken window and sat down and ordered a coffee while his car was up against the seats. See, Dave, back then, you could be known for something like that. You could be a character. Today, they'd send you to prison or a mental institution.
this is one of the gratifying comments from Jan Smith. Says she's never seen this picture before of her grandpa.
Oh, yeah.
No, that's
And,
a good picture.
and then Tiffany Larson says, I showed the girls their great grandpa.
Tiffany
That was-
Larson is Tiffany Dick,
Tiffany Dick.
Ronnie and Jimmy Gay's daughter.
Yeah. David, at the end of each broadcast, we thank you for what you're doing, but you are actually, you're keeping history alive. You digitize history so it'll never die. I assume you can't kill digital stuff. But number two, you're bringing out pictures no one's ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen that. I know it's supposed to say Doug. It's spelled D-U-C, so it's duck scattering Fork Creek.
Yeah.
1892. Can you imagine? They said when the railroad came through here in this Illinois Central came through here in the 60s, and they gave this section away to speculators in Tuscola. They put a railroad crossing here to develop the town, and especially it was a swamp. And so they dug these ditches. We've got Scattering Fork and Hayes Branch. The Irish workers that came over during the potato famine when the railroad was done, we're out of work. They would stop at a place like Tuscola. They made a living with a spade and a shovel digging out the ditches manually.
Mhm.
This year in 1892 was a big improvement. It was a big scoop thing.
You know,
Back in those days, it was a spade and a shovel to dig these ditches
now,
out.
why this makes sense is because Grover Dick owned farmland south of 36, behind Mills and all that, towards Hillcrest. On down from there, he owned property or farmland down there.
So near and dear, yeah. The history of
So
Tuscola,
the scattering fork.
the history of Tuscola is the history of draining the swamp.
Yeah.
Is that a lawnmower on the left?
Yeah, this is a historically important picture. I don't know what that is on the left.
Can't tell.
Well, there's Wayne Henninger's mother, Thelma Henninger.
Yeah.
Her
and
son,
it's Mrs. Henninger.
Wayne was my class, great musical talent. I've got his CD where he's in a group that sings gospel for him. Second one from the left, not sure. Gene Albritton, looks like Dolores Lane again.
Mhm.
The second one,
I don't know the second.
is that
one.
Bud McMorris's wife?
No, these are Tuscola grads, I think.
Oh, you think it's the grad?
Yeah, I do.
She's green up. I think
Princess
Bud-
Snyder Rogers says second from left is Marguerite Reed.
Yeah, that's,
Marguerite who?
what was that her married name or maiden name?
It just says Marguerite Reed.
Oh, no.
Reed.
Read.
No, I don't
I don't
know.
know her.
Judy Lane Moon says, I think this is from I think it was 1936 from the dress. I'm thinking this was in the mid 60s since I remember a picture that was their 25th anniversary wearing the same dress.
That's probably it.
Class of 36.
Yeah. Yeah, class 36. I've still got my selective service card signed by Gene Albritton in my wallet.
There he is again.
Yeah, there he is, George Meister. George, he spied somebody. He's going to dance.
George was quite a dancer.
Yeah, back in the day.
He was they called him Sandman Meister. He could slide and tap.
I think we've had one of these pictures before.
And there was a fire down near the old
In the lumberyard.
lumberyard. Looks like they burnt the roofing tiles.
That's on the far left there. That looks like old Dean Ziegler.
Yeah.
This was another negative that wasn't very good. But
I think somebody sold me those roofing tiles. They lasted about a year. Well, that of course is the
Oh boy,
carnivals in town.
carnivals in town. Look at this guy back here with that DA haircut.
That looks like Johnny Lassiter. Look at it closely. 61. That could be Johnny Lassiter.
Could be Bob Green. Remember him?
Bobby Green. No, wore his pants down around his knees.
Yeah.
Jump out of the gym. If he'd just gone to class, he'd have been all-state basketball player.
Yeah. He didn't go to high school here, did he?
He was 8th grade, I remember. He and Kenny McCollum.
Oh, Kenny McCollum, tall kid.
They were hoods. They were
Original Fonzarellis.
they were the original Fonz.
That's a long time ago.
Wore their pants low. Boy, could they jump out of the gym. They were great basketball players.
I didn't have any names, but speculation this may have been USI Fun Days.
Very could have been.
USI had more
Very
money.
well.
USI had more money than the city of Tuscola, so
All the kids got treated. Grand prize,
Yes.
rec club picnic.
USI at one time had up to 1,500 employees, and their rec club was absolutely awash with money. They built a swimming pool north of this thing. They had a
Yeah.
driving range. They thought about building a golf course.
So was this out at USI? I don't recognize this brick wall, this stone wall.
Well, I don't recognize it either.
So this says Rec Club Picnic, grand prize, must have been this boat. So it says August 26th at Irvin Park, but this is not Irvin Park.
No, this could be out at USI.
Wait a minute. Is that the back of the amphitheater?
Well,
Or the front of the amphitheater? Possibly.
Well, they used they didn't use stone, did they? They used block.
Well, all I remember is the sidewalk
that
going
could
down
that could be
to the stage.
that could be the south side of the amphitheater
Could be.
where you walked up and then it swooped down.
Yeah.
That could be the south.
it could be because these look like amphitheater benches up there.
Yeah. We
So
used to
this-
run, we used to race. Now this is stupid. Those were concrete benches. We would race all the way down and back. One little slip and you're going to wind up like Bill with brain damage all of his life.
So this would have been Irvin Park then, but that wall is not there anymore.
Oh, no, the amphitheater long gone.
Bill, I have a lot of stories
A
about
lot
the
of stage, yeah, the amphitheater.
Yeah. Bill, you sang there one year, didn't you?
Well, I would, yeah. I
You did a little
thought I was
Conway.
Conway Twitty. It's only make believe.
Yeah.
I can't remember who she was.
Oh, yeah. That's NASA's first attempt to go to the moon.
There's a little Ferris wheel in the back.
Yeah.
Trying to identify these kids.
You talk about having money. Look at the USI could put stuff like this on.
Yeah,
Today they're
they
tearing
did
it
a
all
lot
down.
of stuff for the city.
Oh, man. They changed Tuscola forever.
Who is that boy?
Well, he looks
Of
familiar.
course,
doesn't he?
well, see, he could be from out of town because you had all these plant employees from.
Now they lived at Atwood, Villa Grove. Dad worked with a couple guys that drove for 25 years from Terre Haute to work all the time. Can you imagine driving from Terre Haute to work all the time? Now that's it. That's more of it. That is the back of the
That
amphitheater.
is the back of the
That's the
amphitheater.
south. That's the south part of the amphitheater.
I completely forgot that. I
I had
forgot
to.
that.
I
I
had
couldn't.
to.
Huh,
But now that you reminded me, I remembered it.
yeah,
Yeah,
me too.
been a lot of work
oughta-
to remove it.
Somewhere. What'd you say, David?
Would have been a lot of work to remove all that.
Oh, yeah, it was. In fact, it was kind of went downhill for a few years, but they didn't put any more plays on, but it was still there. We're in there somewhere, Bill.
Yeah, we're there somewhere.
I lost my cigar cutter.
Oh,
Have to get a different one.
Yeah, these folks, everyone could have been from a different town.
Tuscola picked up probably 500 or 600. Arcola picked up a couple hundred. Atwood a couple hundred.
Newman had.
Newman got 100 or so.
people.
Villa Grove got some. It changed. It just changed. There's Lee Allison on the left.
Warren Weinberg.
Warren, one of my math, Bill Mike took math from Warren Lineberger, one of the great guys in the world and probably one of the best math teachers.
Look at this. It's a Kiwanis and Rotary Club, but they're Welcome USI. They're doing,
Now that's a 57 in the background over there.
it
56.
looks like it,
58.
56 maybe. I'll be darned.
Lee Allison. I never saw a picture of Lee Allison not
Not
smiling.
smiling.
And Warren Lineberger was just a super guy. Now who's on the right? We should know that. That's
Well, we should, but I don't know who it is. I can't tell.
Well, let me
Lineberger.
see if I got any other names on this.
boy, Warren looks good. That looks about 61, 60.
Yeah, only names I had are the ones you already had. Yeah, I remember Lee went to my church and he's a good guy.
Great guy. Now there's Linda Summerlot. I'm
putting my glasses on.
yeah. Is that Linda?
Oh.
Hold up a little. Oh,
We got Linda Summerloth, so Bill's got to put his glasses on.
yeah. No, yeah. So you're getting to know Bill like I know him. Hold it up a little bit. Blow it up and Bill will fall through the screen. Yeah, that's Linda.
It sure looks like her.
That's Linda Summerlot, right? Is that McCaney on the left?
Annette McCaney?
Annette
I don't
McCaney?
think
Donna
so.
Saul says it's Juanita Hausman Hayes on the left.
Okay, who's on the right?
Linda Summerlot.
I
Oh,
think
yeah,
it is.
I could just tell from her wrist bone and her shoes.
I'm gonna have to take a break.
Yeah, we're gonna We're gonna take about 10-minute break here, David. Linda was a stunner. Looked like Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
All right, here, I'll blow her up there for you. Just
There you go. Blonde
there you
hair.
go, Bill.
There you go. Yeah. Oh, she was.
Here, just a second. Just a second. Just a second. 115. 115 pulse. That was probably objectifying Linda. That's bad, Bill. You should be in shape.
Yeah, should be. She was a pretty girl.
She was a nice girl.
Yeah, nice girl.
Lost track.
God, that looks like Nucio.
It looks like Susan
Susan Nucio.
Nucio, who would have been about in the 8th, 7th grade.
Maybe
61?
even younger then.
Seven.
Because didn't Pete work at the plant and then he went to probation
I
office?
think he did. I think he worked the plant, retired, and went to probation office. Barb was, her older sister was my sister's class. Susan was Doug McCumber, 67. Well, 67, she started school in 67, 65, 64, grade. She'd been 6th grade then.
That's about right.
Yeah. That there's a housewarming gift.
That keeps on giving.
Back in the old days, that may be Dietrich standing there.
He got on a white hat. If it is, that's a Dietrich.
Back in the old days, when they wanted to tear a barn down,
They just burned him.
the fire department would go out there and use it as an exercise. And then some do-gooder safety Nazi stopped all that. They can't do it anymore.
Ken Hedinger says this is Dan Ponder's barn on the North Line Road, set on fire by the fire department for practice.
Yeah, that was common.
The mannequin in the hayloft was not saved. The heat from the fire bubbled the paint on a home across the street, and he thinks that's Denny Dietrich in the picture.
Yeah, maybe that's why they stopped it, because it bubbled paint on people's houses.
That one would do it because that was a big barn.
Yeah, I don't see what kind of practice they're getting though. Do
I've
you?
got a picture of Johnny Lester and myself on bicycles on North Line Road watching that. They advertised that they were going to do that.
Right.
Everybody went to watch and heard it.
Now, here's my question. What are they practicing?
Well, I had more pictures where they're putting water on it, but
Yeah.
the negatives were so poor, you couldn't really tell.
Well, this is probably an example of how once it gets going, forget it.
Yeah.
That baby's gone. Okay, that is the swirl shop. Now, we talked about the swirl shop, David, and I talked about Larry Williams.
That's
sign
why I
pad.
put this picture in there, because we talked about it last week.
Zero in on the swirl shop painting right there on the right.
Oh, the sign.
A little closer if you can. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Larry Williams painted that. He did a lot of
That's
stuff.
where Chrissy Vandeventer has her.
That was Dolores Snyder opened that up. She lived right across the alley to the north.
That's you or me.
Becky? Is that your phone or Bill?
Oh.
Bill's got a call from,
Got a call from Brett, but I missed it.
okay.
I'll
Yeah.
text him back.
Well, thanks for catching that. I remember that sign clear as day.
Well, I thought that was interesting. We just talked about it last week, and then this week it shows up in the pictures.
Yeah. And if Larry didn't paint that, I apologize, but I think he was very talented at stuff like that. Professional looking sign, freehand.
We just had some Christmas decoration pictures that,
That's near you, isn't it? Where you used to live?
Huh. I don't know.
Could be Timmins Drive, could be Buckner,
Could be Meadowview.
Meadowview. I'm thinking
seen
Buckner.
garage door.
I'm saying Timmins Drive or Buckner Street. This is, this looks like, Buckner Street. Isn't that about where,
I really can't tell.
Mr. Oaks built his house? I don't know. Okay, let's see who we can name here. looks like Gene Cornell, Army, lower left, Gene Cornell. Army Bear is the second one with dark glasses.
It looks like Arnhem Bear with the bow tie, but
Arnhem Bear is clearly with a bow tie.
I just can't tell who they are. Obviously, it's Memorial Day. Or
Memorial Day, yeah.
this is an old picture.
Yeah. That could be 61. That's putting the bleachers up at the football field on the north side.
Stand.
Where?
This stand.
Oh, yeah.
Remember, I used to use it. Look at the old post and lights.
Now, David, if you look all the way in the background, that white shed way back there in the northwest corner, back in the late 50s, when the field they first started playing football there in the 50s, that's where you went to get your hot dogs,
Yeah.
your food.
And your caramel apple.
And your caramel apples. And that's also,
From the candy kid.
that was also a popular entrance place.
You know, there used to be a CCC camp.
Right. Just right.
Is that one of the buildings from the CCC camp?
I don't know.
I don't know, but see, you actually, when you came in that gate, so to speak, that's where you also paid to get in back then. In those days.
That was the entrance back in the school wasn't open until 59, but I think they started playing football on it maybe in 56 or 7, maybe even earlier.
That's definitely there today. That shed's a storage shed. Can't tell who that is.
No.
New bleachers, ADA approved, I'm sure.
Yeah, they had a wheelchair ramp on as long as you could climb it. That was it.
That
was it.
No, that was short.
Oh, wow, gosh, what'd you get, 95%?
96, I was keeping track.
Well, I had 125 pictures, so I cut them in half. So I've got saved half for next week.
Well, if the creek don't rise and we're still breathing, we'll give it a shot next week.
We'll give it a go.
So is 97% a good ratio?
Yeah, if you were at 97%, that would be good.
Well, of the ones we guessed correct, I think we
I
got
would
90.
like to see someone else.
Bill?
Yes.
Bill?
Huh?
Of the ones we guessed correct, I'd say we got 97% of them.
Of the ones you guessed at all, you probably got 97%.
Yeah. Yeah. And I apologize if that's Joe Caldwell, but
I think it's right.
we both are pretty sure that's Ron.
Yeah.
Well, and Joe thought it was Ronnie at first, then he wasn't sure.
Yeah. Yeah. But Joe did that. He followed in Ronnie's footsteps.
There's some good pictures in this book.
Yeah, they're not crisp and clean.
That one of the Indians in the front is.
Yeah, there's my dad.
Yeah.
Put that on full screen there.
Well, hang on, let me put it on. Here, do it again.
I think we did pretty well. I really did. That's not easy.
When's your dad?
Came 10 years
You
after.
got it on screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my dad is on my upper right. And the black t-shirt on my upper left is Jim Chaplin, the coach of the Cardinals back in 56. My dad was helping. Front row, third one in is Bill Hoke. I'm the fourth one in, and Gary Brewer. Gary Brewer is always watching.
Like Gary Brewer.
So that it's first row is Bob Taylor, Bert Wiesner, Billy Hoke, and then me, and then Gary Brewer, Dale Knetz. This is from the history book right there.
Yeah.
Can
Can't
you
really.
see?
Yeah, it's a little hard to.
I didn't know if you had the full screen or not.
Yeah, you're on full screen.
Well, I am here. I'm still seeing split screen.
Well, but on the show it'll be full screen.
Okay, so that's hard to see. this was printed on stock paper. It's not shiny. I don't know how good this was it was dedicated.
Here, show it again. I got you back on full screen.
Judd. That's my Uncle Judd. My mom's the brother, who was a great football player from 1940-41 with Bill Huber. We dedicated this book to Judd, Rick's dad, and we dedicated the football book to my mother's twin brother, Bobby McGuire, who died from a football injury his freshman year when he was tackled into a bench. Went home at night to Bourbon, was feeling bad, and the doctor came out there later, and he had evidently something perforated, burst appendix or something, and died that night.
Huh.
He was a great athlete. My mom's twin, Bobby. So if I keep writing books, I'm going to run out of McGuire's to dedicate them to. Anyway, Rick did a good job on this. Rick McGuire worked hard on that.
I've got the football book somewhere.
Yeah. You know, we worked a long time on that, worked hard. And the problem is, David, you know this, we tried to put down people that had been All-State and this and that. And I found where Tack Green was All-State. You know, we could find that. We could find Bill Huber's All-State, Chuck Gross. We got up in the 60s and there was Chicago American All-State, there was Little All-State, there was this and that. We tried to find them all. And then after the book was published, we got some comments saying you left out Doug Green, you left out somebody else, you know, but it's really hard. In fact, I got jumped on one time by a woman who said, we talked about all the coaches, the great coaches. She said, you left out the greatest Tuscola coach of all time. I said, I did? How did we do that? Who's that? She said, Howard Barnes.
Howard Barnes.
Howard Barnes. I said, he coached here. She said, no, he coached at Wheaton.
Yeah.
I said, good Lord, we barely caught the Tuscola coaches.
Yeah.
Anytime you do a history book, David, and you know this from a newspaper, when you reach back into history and talk about people's family and records and this, that, you're touching the flame. You're touching the flame. It's very, very sensitive, very important. Yep. So if you goof up, you know, there's a downside to this, trying to replicate history.
Yeah, anytime you're in whether it's being in the newspaper business, it's a public role, even though it's not, elected, but, elected officials have the same issue. You're never going to make everybody happy. And when we make a mistake, everybody sees it and it's there permanently. And, all you can do is apologize and try to fix it and move on. And, when I got married to Jenny and we had the newspapers, that took a little time for her to get used to. And I said, you can't let those things upset you or you'd be upset all the time. You just have to let it go.
Yeah, whoever undertakes anything public, I'm reminded of in fact, Bill was just talking about that the other day, doing something good for somebody and it backfired. We talked about the old saying, no good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah.
And they're just, we're just here a short time, we're alive. You might as well do all you can. And just know that it's not always upside. There's always a risk to reaching out.
Of course, we get a little cynical in this business that we feel like if you're not making somebody mad, you're not doing it right.
Well, you and I talked about this back when we used to do news, that most small town papers, the editor, he would never bring out anything embarrassing. Because they want to they want ads. They don't want to upset the power brokers who advertise. Right. And I would say when you did the Tuscola review, I gave you high marks you tried to walk that fine line, but you would publish stuff that was newsworthy that should be published. And you didn't do it in a hateful way. You were actually trying to inform the public and let the chips fall where they may. Now, Bob Hastings tried to do that a lot. You know, you worked for Bob, I worked for Bob. He was very sensitive. He hated losing. You make the wrong, you know, you make your nut and feed your family because the 2 or 3 big businesses advertise, take full page ads every now and then.
Yep.
If you make them mad or you say something about their kid, if you put their kid's speeding ticket in the paper, you may lose.
I don't believe Mr. White felt that way.
Phil White was absolutely fearless or absolutely didn't have any brains because he was famous. Lee Allison, who's the nicest guy in the world, said, Phil White, he said, can you believe this guy? He ran editorial blasting all the local businesses for not advertising enough. He said, we're behind times, we're idiots, we're going to lose out to the big cities. And then he makes fun of us. And then the next day he calls me for a big ad. I said, Phil, you just made fun of me. So Phil didn't play the game very well, but he wrote a good newspaper.
They had a good newspaper.
Hastings tried to walk the line. I thought you walked the line well. And I always admired you for not being afraid to take on something that generated some heat. And that I can see where that's hard for somebody like Jenny, not used to being in the public light. It is hard for somebody to get used to.
David wrote this song for Johnny Cash, I Walk the Line.
I walked the
That's
line.
right. Well,
Well, you got acclimated a long time ago to this reality, didn't you? That if you're going to be in the newspaper business, you're just going to.
well, one of my problems is money has never meant anything to me. So it's never been about, you don't go into the newspaper business if you're trying to get rich,
Yeah.
So,
Well, if you do go into it to get rich, you got to be super careful.
well, I knew what I needed to pay the bills, and anything above that was, gravy. And, so I always took the approach that if you tell the truth and you're honest about it and you give people the information you need, your readers will stick with you. The advertisers will, come and go, but they'll come back because you've got the readers. And I always try to stay true to the readers.
Yeah, and you never did you never did a low blow. You never went the back road.
You don't go looking for a fight.
Yeah,
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm thinking of 60 Minutes. I just watching 60 Minutes the other day, and the old joke used to be that it's a bad day when you see 60 Minutes show up with their camera to your front door. But they had this guy. He was interviewing somebody. He said, "Now, did you ever go to Portugal and have an affair with so and so?" He said, "No." He said, well, "What about this photo?" And then they show up a photo of the guy, a gotcha moment,
Yeah.
And who was that? Who's the guy? His mom was an actress. Anderson Cooper. Anderson Cooper did so much. Of course, the expert at it all was Wallace, the gotcha. So you never played the gotcha game. You always, whenever you wrote something, you always gave somebody a chance to comment. You always investigated, number one. Number two, you always gave the other side a chance to comment, and you tried to run an objective article. So I think you did it as well as anybody could.
Well, occasionally people come to us with something that happened at a private business that they thought was not fair. And my response would be, you need a lawyer, not a newspaper.
Yeah.
Are we still on?
Yeah.
We are?
Yeah.
And if you,
I have to pause.
if you take it to the, if you go to a city council meeting and bring up an issue in a city council meeting, then as a reporter, I have some protection. Because I can report whatever's said at a city council meeting without fear of reprisal under the Reporters Privilege Act. But when you go and start writing about a private business without any, you don't have that protection. Now, once it's in the court system, you can write about it.
Well, that was probably the best thing about the court system was everything said and the court system is privileged. You can't get sued for it. And that's why in this recent release of all these tapes, what's his name that killed himself, the sex scandal. What you often do in a case like that is if you want this stuff out, you attach it as an exhibit to a pleading.
Right.
It's in the public domain. The other side can move to have it quashed or something, but this thing's back out in the public domain now. And Bill's gone right now, so I can tell you right now, Bill's on that list.
Bill's on the list.
On the list. He visited the island many times. Becky said I should.
That
Becky said I should say that.
yeah, Mike is joking.
Mike is joking.
So
whenever Mike smiles, he's joking.
Mike is betting Bill won't sue him for
Mike is betting
him on
Mike
the
is
show.
Mike is betting Bill didn't hear him.
Yeah.
Bill should never take a break. You'll never see me take a break. Well, David, I think you are doing a service for the town, for the history. And as small town newspapers disappeared, David, this is the last chance to save history. And the only thing missing from the pictures are the testimonials. And I don't know how you get those.
We do it by doing podcasts with you and Bill.
Yeah. Well, two old guys.
And people comment on the pictures. That's one of the things I like and what I encourage people to do with the history pictures is to share their stories with the pictures.
Well, I think Joe Caldwell one time told me that it's a chance to tell the story of Tuscola. And Bill and I I know we're going through a lot of pictures, but we try to, if you got time, let us tell short stories about some of these things. Like Mel's Drive-In, which was a special place back in the late 50s and 60s. Used to be Gernon's before Mel's. It was owned by John Gernon, and then went to Mel's. It was our Fonzie. What was the place called, Becky? Where the Fonzie? What was that place called? In Happy Days. Bill?
In the TV show?
Yeah. What was the restaurant where they all hung out in Happy Days?
I don't remember.
The name of the restaurant?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Okay.
I can't remember. I didn't know you'd put your picture up in the back.
Here's a picture of Bill. Here's Bill Senior's picture. David's got to cut it out now.
No.
Hey, it's an ad from Jockey.
God dang.
That woke Dave up a little bit.
I bet it did.
See the tattoos?
I got one of those in the mail the other day, and
Yeah. That looks like
what
me.
is this? Fredericks of Hollywood?
Yeah.
It's actually Jockey, and it looks like
He's got a lot of tattoos. Bill, you still got your Navy tattoos, don't you? Bill, I got
I wish we had that Jockey store back.
now, Bill, I said a joke and I've got to take it back now, but
Oh,
we were talking about the release of the names from that guy.
That guy, that guy.
Killed himself in Manhattan jail.
oh,
Sex scandal.
okay, yeah,
What was his name?
Yep.
Epstein.
I probably shouldn't have said this, but I said your name's in that release.
No, I tell you
I
what.
said you've been to the island probably about 5 times.
Yeah.
Bill's off camera.
There he is.
Here I am.
There you go.
Yeah.
Bill, so it's your chance to clear the record.
Boy, Prince Andrews got himself
Yeah. Bill, you want to clear the record?
stuck in. I've never been to the island.
How about on the plane?
I've never been on the plane.
But you do know Giselle Maxwell, you know the
I
gal.
think Bill Clinton was at the island.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was there. So was Trump.
Trump.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, rank has its privileges. Wealth has its privileges, I guess.
I wouldn't call that a privilege.
I'd
I would
say,
either.
you know what? If you look at that guy, he was a nice looking guy. And the longer he went, and then once he got himself in trouble, it looked like me, he aged about 30 years.
We're still recording. Should we stop?
No, I think we're getting into some
Oh,
military
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, put the picture back up of
Put the picture back up of Jockey. Yeah. I'll just pass it by like that. That's Bill with his tats.
Yeah.
He's got the Navy anchor. What's
Bill didn't take that with him when he took his break, did he?
Yes, he did. That's why I was in there about 5 minutes. He placed an order.
I had to take a break. We
Okay.
had a good show, David.
All right.
Good pictures.
Golden era of Tuscola.
Appreciate you being on.
Good days.
I will see you next week on Remembering Tuscola.